My name is Lydia Harper, I'm 31 years old, and until a few weeks ago, I thought I had the perfect little life. I had been married to my husband, Ethan, for 5 years. We had our cozy home in a quiet suburb, weekend coffee rituals, and what I thought was unshakable trust between us. But that illusion shattered on a Thursday night when Ethan came home late, his face hard, his voice colder than I had ever heard. He stood in the doorway of our kitchen and said, "I know about you and Ryan." Ryan? My brother. I laughed at first, a hollow, nervous laugh, because what could that even mean? But Ethan didn't flinch. He accused me of having an affair with another man, and said Ryan had told him everything. I couldn't breathe. My own brother, the person I grew up with, the person I had defended my whole life, had told my husband that I was cheating. I begged Ethan to believe me, swore I'd never do something like that, but his eyes were already full of doubt. He walked away, leaving me standing in the kitchen, shaking, the world spinning around me. That was the night I realized something was deeply broken, not just in my marriage, but in my family. And as much as it hurt, I had no idea just how far this betrayal was going to go, or how much it would change me. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, the oldest of 2 kids. My brother, Ryan Harper, was born 3 years after me, and from the very beginning, it felt like he was everyone's favorite. My mom, Sharon, doted on him like he was a miracle baby. "Ryan's just sensitive," she'd say every time he got in trouble at school. "Ryan's just misunderstood, when he broke things or lied." Dad, Mark, wasn't around much. He worked long shifts at the factory, and when he was home, he mostly sat in silence in front of the TV. That left me to be the good kid. The responsible one. The one who cleaned up after Ryan's messes and kept Mom from exploding. If Ryan failed a class, I was told to help him study. If he got into a fight, I was the one who had to smooth things over with the neighbors. I can still remember one night vividly. I was 14, Ryan was 11. He had stolen money from Mom's purse to buy video games, and when she found out, she screamed at both of us. I took the blame because I couldn't stand to see him cry. I was grounded for a month. Ryan got dessert after dinner that night like nothing happened. That's how it always was. Ryan made the mistakes, I paid the price. And even though I resented it, a part of me believed it was my job to keep the family together. As adults, not much changed. Ryan would call me to bail him out of his problems, late rent, bad breakups, job losses, and I always showed up. Ethan used to tell me, "You're not his parent, Lydia. He needs to grow up." But I couldn't turn my back on my brother. Maybe that's why what he did hurt so much. I had spent my whole life protecting him. I never thought he'd be the one to destroy everything I had built. When Ethan and I got married, I had this dream that we'd build a life surrounded by love and support. I pictured Sunday barbecues, birthday parties, and family holidays where everyone laughed around the same table. But the reality was exhausting. Ryan couldn't hold a job for more than 6 months. He'd get fired, call me in tears, and I'd end up wiring him rent money from our savings. I told myself it was temporary, that he just needed a little push to get on his feet. Ethan tried to be patient at first, but I could feel the tension in him every time I sent another loan to Ryan that I knew we'd never see again. Then there were the late-night calls. Ryan would call me after midnight, drunk, asking me to pick him up from some bar across town because he couldn't drive home. More than once, I climbed out of bed quietly so I wouldn't wake Ethan, drove across town, and brought Ryan home safely. I thought I was doing the right thing, being a good sister, keeping Ryan out of trouble. But every time I looked into Ethan's face, I saw the disappointment growing. "Lydia," he said one night, "your brother's problems are not your problems. He's a grown man. You can't keep sacrificing us for him." I promised Ethan I would set boundaries. And I tried, I really did. But then Ryan got into even deeper trouble. One day, Ryan confessed to me that he was having an affair with a married coworker. He begged me not to tell anyone, said it would ruin his life if word got out. I kept his secret, again, thinking I was protecting him. What I didn't know was that this secret would become the weapon he used to destroy me. Because just 2 weeks later, Ethan started pulling away. He came home late, stopped kissing me goodnight, and I couldn't figure out why. And then came that Thursday night, the night he accused me of cheating, and suddenly, everything made sense. Ryan hadn't just betrayed me. He had taken my loyalty and twisted it into something ugly, something I couldn't defend against. The confrontation with Ethan was worse than any nightmare I'd ever had. It happened on a rainy Saturday morning. I had barely slept since the night he first accused me. Ethan sat at the edge of the bed, scrolling on his phone, his jaw tight. "Just tell me the truth, Lydia," he said quietly. "Ryan showed me messages. You don't have to lie anymore." My stomach dropped. "Messages? What messages?" He turned his phone toward me. There were screenshots, blurry late-night texts, vague enough to be twisted, taken completely out of context. They were real messages I had sent to Ryan, about picking him up from bars, about keeping his secret, but to anyone else, they could look like I was arranging secret meetups with a lover. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. "Ethan, those messages aren't what you think." I was helping him. Ethan stood up, cutting me off. Helping him? By sneaking around behind my back? By lying to me? I tried to hold his hand, but he pulled away. "I can't do this anymore, Lydia. I can't live with someone I can't trust." Those words hit me like a punch to the chest. He didn't yell. He didn't curse. But the quiet finality in his voice was worse than any screaming match. When I went to my parents to tell them what happened, I thought maybe they'd support me. But Mom just sighed and said, "Ryan told us about your behavior. We're not surprised Ethan is upset." That was it. No one believed me. Not my husband, not my parents. So I packed a single suitcase, walked out the front door, and drove away in the rain. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, tears blurring my vision, but one thing was clear: I couldn't stay. Driving away that night, I didn't have a plan. I just kept going until the lights of my hometown disappeared in the rearview mirror. Somewhere between sobbing and shaking, I made a decision: I wasn't coming back. I rented a small studio apartment in Columbus, a city where no one knew me, where my last name meant nothing. It was tiny, just one room with a kitchenette and a single window that overlooked a busy street, but it was mine. I sold my wedding ring to cover the first few months of rent and got a job waiting tables at a little cafe downtown. It was humiliating at first. I had a degree, I used to work in an office, but the job gave me something I hadn't had in a long time: quiet. No phone buzzing with Ryan's crises. No one knocking on my door asking for favors. The first few weeks were hard. At night, I'd curl up on the futon and cry until I couldn't anymore. I replayed every conversation with Ethan, every moment with Ryan, wondering what I could have done differently. But slowly, things started to change. One of the baristas at the cafe, Maya, invited me to a yoga class. I almost said no. I wasn't ready to be around people, but I went anyway. It became a ritual. Every Thursday evening, I'd roll out my mat and breathe until the knots in my chest loosened just a little. I started journaling, too, writing everything I was too afraid to say out loud. The anger. The hurt. The tiny sparks of hope. And somewhere along the way, I realized I was building a new version of myself. I saved up and bought a used car. I took a weekend class on digital marketing, something I'd always been interested in but never had time for, and eventually landed a remote job doing social media for a small business. I could feel myself getting stronger, more grounded. For the first time in years, I wasn't living for someone else. I wasn't covering for Ryan. I wasn't begging Ethan to trust me. I was just Lydia. And that was enough. Just when life started to feel steady again, the past came knocking. It started with a voicemail from Mom. Her voice was shaky, almost dramatic. "Lydia, you need to come home. Your brother's in trouble. We can't handle this without you." I didn't call back. A few days later, Dad called. He never called me before, he always left that to Mom. "Your mother's worried sick," he said gruffly. "Ryan's marriage is falling apart. His wife found out he was cheating. The family needs you." I almost laughed. The family needs me? The same family that believed Ryan's lies about me, that chose his word over mine, now wanted me to come clean up his mess. I stayed quiet. Then came the text from Ethan. "Ethan, I know now you weren't lying. I'm sorry. Ethan, can we talk?" I stared at the screen for a long time. My heart twisted, a part of me still loved him, still missed the life we had, but I also remembered the way he looked at me when he thought I was guilty. The way he let me walk out that door without fighting for me. So I didn't reply. 2 weeks later, Mom called again, this time claiming Dad was sick. "He's not eating. His blood pressure is through the roof. If you cared about this family, you'd come home." But I knew the pattern by now. It was the same cycle as always. Ryan made a mess, everyone panicked, and I was expected to fix it. Only this time, I didn't. I turned off my phone, made myself a cup of tea, and sat by the window of my little apartment. I watched the world go by outside, cars honking, people rushing to work, and for the first time, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. It's been almost a year since I left. Sometimes, I still wake up in the middle of the night, heart pounding, thinking about that night in the kitchen when Ethan accused me. But the pain doesn't control me anymore. I've built a new rhythm for my life. I work from my little apartment, I meet Maya for yoga every Thursday, and on Sundays, I go for long walks with my journal and write about everything I've learned. And I've learned so much. I learned that love without trust is just a cage. I learned that loyalty without boundaries will break you. And most of all, I learned that choosing yourself isn't betrayal, it's survival. Ryan eventually sent me a message too, a half-hearted apology buried in excuses. "I was scared," he wrote. "I didn't know what else to do. I didn't think it would go this far." But I didn't reply. Because forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it just means letting go of the weight someone put on your shoulders, and walking away lighter. My parents still try to guilt-trip me into coming home. Ethan even sent me flowers once, asking if we could start over. Maybe one day I'll be ready to have those conversations. But not now. Right now, I'm choosing me. If anyone watching this has ever been told they were selfish for walking away from people who hurt them, hear me clearly. Family is proven by love, not just blood. Choosing yourself is not selfish, it's freedom. And I've never felt more free.